In training horses, one trains himself. Antonia de Plounevelle. Greetings, my name is Krzysztof Sadowski. I'm here with Norbert, and Norbert is a 23-year-old intermediate rider, and his horse over here, Admiral, he's a 19-year-old Thoroughbred. And Admiral started his career as a racehorse and then a hunter-jumper. But what we're going to talk about today is recreational riding. Before we do that, I'm going to ask you, Norbert, to make a circle. You can go on the left rein and go around the arena, not too big, not all the way to the edges, but around the arena over here. Thank you. So recreational riding, it first starts with when you first come to the stables, when you first enter, when you drive in. You can't be driving in fast. You got to drive in slow. You got to be mindful of other people who might be riding their horses, who might be working out in the arena. You also want to have your window down so you could hear what's going on. After that, it's going through the stable, making sure that it's a safe environment, that there's no nails sticking out, nothing that the horse could trip over in the aisle. So you have to make sure that is all clear. And once you prepare your horse or are preparing your horse to ride, you got to make sure that your tack fits right. You got to make sure it's oiled, it's well taken care of, and that nothing's broken on it. You got to make sure that you groom your horse properly, checking for any rocks or anything that might be in his hooves. Your basic grooming is what it comes down to. Safety is very important around the barn, and not only around the barn, but in the area that you're riding or out in the parks. And one of the things that we stress is always wearing a helmet, having the proper gear when you ride, and also, like I mentioned before, that the horse has the proper gear to ride. In this turnout over here, we're using this half of the arena, and as you can see, it rained a little bit, so we're going to have to be cautious when we're working. We have to be cautious for which step we take, and we're going to take our time with it so the horse doesn't happen to make a misstep or injure himself. Gates should be closed. Again, area should be secure, and then you're pretty much ready to go. Now, prior to this, we warmed up Admiral a little bit, so he's already ready to go. And let's get started with some basic riding and some safety for recreational riding. Norbert, if you can, I'm going to ask you to pick up a slow trot, please. Slow trot on the same rein that you're going in the general area that we're talking about. And what I want you to think about when you're going in the trot is just having a steady contact on the reins, trying to be as steady as possible with the horse, and try to calm him down and let him trust your hands. So what we're looking for over here is just basic control of your horse, whether you're in the indoor arena, outdoor arena, or you're riding in the park. You want to be as steady with your hands. You want to have a good, solid seat, and you want to be able to distribute your weight properly, because the way you distribute your weight it's going to affect the horse. And we need to be able to control our horse in all the gaits, in the walk, in the trot, in the canter. The more we practice, the more recreational riding we do. At first, we have to do it with teachers. We have to do it with instructors. And once we do that enough, we could actually go out by ourselves, although it's good to go out in the group. And that's how you build confidence, by doing this work daily. Now, if something were to happen to Admiral out in the trails or anywhere else, we got to be cognizant that we need to know basic first aid. We need to know how to, if something happens with the shoe, we need to be able to take off the shoe, or maybe have a replacement shoe that we could use them another day if the farrier can't come. If we have to, ideally you don't use a horse if the shoe comes off. And again, you should be able to know around the stables how to administer simple first aid, how to put Epsom salt in the bucket and put the hoof in the bucket to relieve any soreness or pain, to administer basic medicines to the horse's mouth. Norbert, if you can, I'm going to ask you to switch rein, please. So we're doing a little bit of trotting, and it's nice and steady. Neither Norbert nor Admiral seem to be having any problems. They're going nicely, and that's what you want. That's basically what you want. You want a horse that's even-tempered, that's willing to work, such as Admiral is. Also, when outside in the parks, right here at Garrett Mountain, we got a very nice riding area in the park. It's important to be aware of bicyclists, people on motorcycles that might make a lot of noise, trucks if they're coming through, and also people on the path, little kids, baby carts. You want to be aware of all these things when you take your horse out, and it's important to get your horse used to these things, and that comes through practice. Norbert, I'm going to ask you to walk. Very good. And what we're going to do now is we're going to do a little bit of transitions from walk to trot. And we're going to try and do these transitions as lightly as possible to ask as nicely as we can to get the effect that we're looking for. So Norbert, when you're ready, I'm going to ask you to trot. Very good, that was nice and light. And walk. And you want to be able to have control. It's a very important aspect of being outdoors. Hacking is what the English call it. Trail riding is what we call it, or recreational riding. It's very important to be able to have control of your horse, so you go wherever you want to go. And if you got to get out of some situation, you have the full control. Norbert, if you could please trot. Another important part, if you own a horse or are leasing a horse, you gotta know a little bit about feeding. You gotta know about, make sure that their water buckets are full. These are all the things. It might seem simple when you say it, but all these things are very important, and there's a lot of these things. A lot of these things you got to take care of for not only your safety, but for the horse's well-being. And Norbert, you could switch directions. And when you're at a good spot, you could walk him and reward him. One of the things that I believe in training works the best, not only with the animals, but with people, is if you're kind, if you reward more than correct. That's a very important aspect, and it makes work go a lot smoother because the animal wants to work with you. The horse wants to work with you. If you're friendly, the person wants to take a lesson with you. So being understanding, having empathy, sympathy goes a long way. And these things, you can't rush these things. You got to take it step by step. Norbert, when you're ready, I'm going to ask you to pick up the trot again. And now after you trot a lap and you find a good spot, I'm going to ask you to nice and lightly to canter. Try to be as steady as possible. Make it easy for the horse. Okay, and keep that canter. Again, we're looking for control. Very good. You could half halt him on the corners there, so you could slow down on the corners a little bit. And if he's not listening to half halt that much, what I like to do is just sit a little deeper and lean back a little bit. And you could trot him when you find a good spot. When you get a chance, Norbert, please switch reins. It's very important to follow rules in the stables. If there's rules, if you got to wear a helmet, which you should wear a helmet. If you got to put away your things, you should put away your things. Cleanliness is next to godliness, is the saying. And in the stables, this is a very important aspect to keeping safety. When you get a chance, Norbert, and you find a good spot, I'm going to ask you to canter him on the right rein. That's it. Get the energy up. You got it. Boom. That was nice. Once you got that energy in him, it was a lot easier to ask for the canter. So safety is an important part. If we find that there's some kind of fire hazard or if there's some kind of equipment malfunction, anything, even if it's not ours, we should report it. We should tell somebody and have that fixed for not only your safety but others' safety. Yes, please. That was nice. And nice and steady is the name of the game. That's what we're looking for. If you're able to do this here and out in the trail, then you got control of your horse. And that makes for happy riding. That makes for good recreational riding. And if you got a horse that isn't as sure, you could trot him, Norbert. If you got a horse that isn't as sure of himself, or new or green, it's good to go out with an older, experienced horse. And you could walk him, Norbert. So these are the basic 3 gaits that you want to be able to have control. And it's important to first start off in the indoor, then outdoor, then outside. And it takes practice, and the more you practice, the more you learn and the better you become at it. And I always encourage people to study, to learn as much as they can, especially if they're passionate about riding. It's important not only to practice, do the practice every day, but it's important to do the theory. It's important to learn. It's important to read, because that's how you expand your knowledge. And then you could practice the theory while you ride. Norbert, can you please come to the middle? And you could stop him there, pet him. I'm going to ask you to do a turn on the 4. So what you're going to do is, you're going to ask for a little bit of energy. You're going to keep his forehands in the same spot, and you're just going to turn his haunches around his forehands. You could do it whichever side you want, and then we'll reverse that side. You could take a step forward first to get some energy, get him moving, and then turn. That's it. That's it. And forward. And continue turning. And forward. Use your hip to send him forward. Okay, that's good. And pet him, reward him. Hey, boy. And I'm going to ask you to do that the other way. If you need to take a step forward to get some energy, get him going forward, and then turn on the forehand. That's it. Good. And that's it. Okay, you can reward him. Okay, I like to do these little things sometimes because it's important for the horse to sort of step underneath himself, and that helps to get his weight in the haunches, the engine of the horse. That's about it for today. Now, next time, what we would do is we would probably go out into the trails, into a little more of the wooded, forested area, and practice out there. And thank you, Norbert, for a good job. Thank you, Admiral. Thank you. Happy trails, and till next time.